I'd like to welcome everyone, and I'd like to ask my panelists to come on stage. Bálint Szabó Tamás, in the Ministry for Transport and Building, Kinga Temesi, Office Manager for the Institute for Hungarian Transport Science and Logistics, István Polgári, Managing Director for Veszprém-Bus, and László Reich, MÁV-START ZRT. So we are all linked this year by the program of the European Cultural Capital, so the ECOC program. We all participated in the Transport Organization Working Group, and we met each other and your colleagues regularly on a monthly basis, sometimes even more frequently. For me, as the monitoring referent, responsible for monitoring in the program, it was really inspiring and motivating in my everyday life to provide the best possible community transport services, because I see as basic values in the program our sustainability obligations also, and our transport sustainability obligations. May I ask you to share with us the framework of this strategic cooperation that was implemented under the umbrella of all the ministries and organizations? Yes, thank you very much. From our side, when we were contacted that there will be this huge event, I'm saying huge because it lasted for a whole year, or even longer than a year. So that they contacted us that there would be this huge event and we would need to contribute and help so that the transport sector could also help the success of the event. So practically, we needed a cooperation from municipalities and public organizations. We needed a cooperation that was excellent. I think this was unprecedented that for such a long time we cooperated in this area together. Obviously, it was very important that the settlements, I'm thinking primarily about Veszprém, it was important that the neighboring settlements also should actively have an active approach and positive approach to this. We managed to achieve this because we didn't only address the settlements in the vicinity of Veszprém, but also some premises on the northern shore of Lake Balaton. So the framework of the cooperation was that we created a community transport system that should support the events that were organized here, and that we should try to help the visitors and participants to have access to this transport, and after the events they could get back to their accommodation or their homes. Yes, thank you very much. As you mentioned, during the day in our cooperation, we had to pay attention to the well-being of people living here, to the increased visitor numbers. We had to somehow mitigate the negative effects of tourism. And for the local residents, we wanted to make it possible to go around the different venues as fast as possible with the least possible transfer. Focusing on Veszprém, it has been mentioned in the past 2 days many times that the accessibility of the creative region was important on the international, national, and regional level as well. And what kind of local results have been reached focusing on Veszprém or on the national level? László, I would like to ask from you first. For example, the introduction of fixed price train tickets, the ECOC. We had some ECOC discounted tickets. We had a fantastic sales figure. Around 16,000 tickets were sold from that. And the Veszprém ECOC ticket round trip was around 14,000 pieces. I think this kind of discount really ensured the figures that we expected from it, or the figures that the ministry and you organizers expected as well. What's important also is an interesting fact that we can invest capacities into this system. We can put capacities in this system. If we get an order from the ministry, then we tried our best to ensure the vehicles. So we, for example, put in extra carriages in the railway area as well. I started I'm sorry, for me this project is one of the most exciting parts of the ECOC, and its national reputation was enhanced also with the cheap tickets. The extra carriages that were put in the railway system, the railway services. István, what did you bring starting with the opening ceremony? I think the Veszprém bus started to prepare for the ECOC together with the city. So I think we went through a very strong cultural change, and of course the locals could feel mostly, they could really appreciate the increase of quality in the vehicles and in the service level. And we could also put some information, new application, and the e-bike system and the information provided. So we had public e-bikes that were only electronic. And what I also see in this, that the change in culture also appeared, that from mass transport, we became public transport, community transport. So I think now it was difficult to translate for the interpreters, but it wasn't. So we want to take forward this motion, this service to the local and regional communities, even into the direction that by 2030 we want to have a livable city in our own categories. As a transport organizer in the region, in our area of competence, we coordinated the access of the relevant settlements. We knew from the very first moment that we had a place in this project. We were very happy to join. And I want to highlight the cooperation that has been mentioned many times, which accompanied and surrounded both the service providers, the organizers, the regions, and everyone really cooperated well. We all participate in transport. It's an important part of our lives. And in this highlighted event, I think a special aspect was how to get there. We heard that it was not only about Veszprém, but we talked about Balaton. So we are talking about Veszprém County, bigger regions, networking. We also heard about this, this also affected the transport. And it was important that we could work here together and cooperate here together, because that's how the projects could strengthen each other, just like with the change of culture with the V-Bus, and the development could be felt. In the railway services and bus services also there were developments, and maybe it was not well known for everyone, but we are a background institution. We create a bridge assigned and mandated by the Ministry for Transport. We try to coordinate this. And in this situation, I think it was important also our coordinating role to get to know the needs, the real needs, and in a quick operative way, we could mediate the needs towards the principle. We talked about the ticket types already, or the extra capacities, ordering the extra capacities. And it's important to point out here also that, thank God, we knew how to strengthen each other, and whatever for decades, whatever developments have been prepared for decades, we were able to implement those. As a background information, it's worth knowing that there was a huge reorganization within the institutions, in the service providers. So there were responsibles mandated for that. So here in Veszprém County, also, maybe you remember, there was Bakony Volán, Balaton Volán, so 3 types of bus companies were providing services, plus the railway company as well. And so the work started that there shouldn't be these parallel services. So in the public services, there was a rationalization that started in order to provide better services, which actually helped this work. And I think it was mutual, because the continuous contact always provided the feedback. We always found out where was the lack or discrepancy or need or demand. So I think the monthly discussions and meetings also supported this process and will help this kind of work in the future, because the connections have built and we will keep these. And in order, because we could get the passengers to the Veszprém events, I think we enriched the local public transport as well and mobility. And I'm sure we are also going to speak about it, that we didn't only transport passengers, but we were also providing venues for different events. Thank you very much. We can see from your introductions that you had to overcome several obstacles, because we have never done this in Hungary for such a big cultural program. We implemented in such a big event, beyond public administrative borders and county borders, in an infrastructural and institutional system, in a society that is used to cars. And we wanted to widen the participation from society, also preserving the ecological balance, paying attention to that in the region. I think our cooperation didn't only provide solutions to logistics questions, getting the locals, but I think it also facilitated that they could get back home from the huge events. And in our projects, the forest adventures, theaters that were inspiring to visit extraordinary venues, the cultural heritage venues that were difficult to access. We also wanted to provide in these places to get the passengers there with the least possible ecological footprint. So first we were focusing on Veszprém, but also we were focusing on transport, data-based and demand-based solutions. For example, Kinga referred to that. that it was also our task to get the passengers home after the event. Yesterday, we talked about the usability of ticket data. For example, the weekend predictable event series. In that case, we had some preliminary planning that could take the passengers home so that the locals could suffer less noise pollution. We actually had for the outer venues some transport that started from the outer venues. And do you have experiences about that? How difficult it was to balance these needs and demands when you saw exactly that based on the ticket data what we can expect and respond on small events also. And thank you for so much that you always had a positive support in these questions as well. Well, the planning is always unsure a little bit. We are expecting something, but it's not sure that it happens exactly that way because it depends on the weather and anything else. So transport can depend on other events, parallel events, and so on. I think it's very important that we had this cooperation, and this cooperation provided the basis for the success. I think in all of our services that we had to put in as extra or where we had to modify the timetables, I think we managed to perform according to the expectations. Obviously, there were some insecure parts or uncertainties, but we always inform the passengers, the service providers, organizers. So there was a monthly tracking regarding the passenger numbers because it was important. We want to point out that obviously the service providers provided the services within a service providing contract. So each modification also modified this public service contract. So the capacities had to be paid and that the capacities had to be directed to the right places. Obviously, there were some cases where we couldn't perform adequately. This had several reasons, and vehicle capacity was lacking sometimes, but I think all in all, I hope that we can mention this as a success and with a positive opinion. As I mentioned, we also had previous tasks and works, and MÁV and some companies, and in their transformation also we had some cooperations. So last year we managed in the Veszprém region to lay down the foundations of the new timetable. So a complete network transformation has been done as well. I think it was very good timing because there was feedback about what we should modify and what we could implement. We also had some night services that were linked to some events, but these events also had a great history and they were integrated in the ECOC program, and maybe they will remain in the future. I think this schedule, the timetable, is also a key word, and it can bring closer to the citizens the transport. We talked about Veszprém and the Regions Link, and Veszprém-Balaton and Bakony accessibility. What you referred to is that Balaton-Almádi, towards Balaton-Almádi and Balaton-Füred, towards these there were new services provided, and we had infrastructural developments, and these must also have meaning. Obviously, we have the infrastructural development so that we can ensure the passenger transport or goods transport. We had to renovate the 30A and that's why. And we had the new trains that brought a new type of service. Obviously, we can criticize, and we know when we need to develop regarding the vehicles and the service quality. But in Veszprém and Budapest's context, the the new services that were put in place actually, and that they were more frequent, it improves the quality of life and the transport towards Budapest and around Lake.
Aztán a Győr
Yes, indeed, because we have to work in order to connect our city Veszprém better to other destinations. So we've got Balaton, and Tihany, two very frequented cities, and we had to link them more to the others. And while we were reconstructing the main railway line coming from Székesfehérvár to the Balaton, we tried also to reschedule and rearrange all public transportation means in order to render our cities more accessible. I would like to underline that even in recent years, we've started to cooperate with local initiatives coming from municipalities, for example. Synergy, it is the key word. And we were there to help. And yes, this culture season, it was a very specific project because it was also a cooperation maker whenever it comes to how to better link together Veszprém city to its region. And it means a lot. It means a lot. For example, if you've got a service provider owned by the municipality, so it's a public-owned company, and whenever you have a specific, engaged, committed mentality, well, it is a plus. And what I can absolutely say to you is that I've been reinforced in my ideas, and public transportation has become even more important because on an everyday level, everybody is just the same. You buy a ticket and have a ride. And it is very important that anybody can get exactly the same service. It can be an elderly person, it's free, for example, of charge the way, and for the school boys it's the same, so it's the same for everybody. So it is also a living together which can have also a cultural aspect. And from this perspective, yes, the service provider of public transportation can have a very important role to play. In our city, you can find lots of educational and healthcare institutions. So lots of people use our services on an everyday level. So whenever you've got an improvement, whenever you've got informations disseminated, well, all these things can contribute to the reinforcement of the local feelings, or to can contribute to the success of culture programs too, because we are everywhere. And also I do think gave a better service to our citizens. So yes, our bases are good. István, whenever it comes to community building, well, you had some culture programs on board of your buses. So it was a very specific venue. Well, some of them had no publicity at all. Some of others, they had great success, flash mobs, or some buses in which the actors of the Veszprém theatre told poems the day of the poetry, and sometimes just the folk music was just played, and it was great because people registered by phones, and it was then disseminated in the public media, and there were people dancing, and there were others saying, "Why are you bothering me?" And all these reactions are legit. And yes, sometimes people just want to be calm and don't need flash mob, but that's it, that's okay. We've got certain initiatives that we thought great, and no. We thought that for amateur bands, it's a great possibility to play 30 minutes in a night blast on Friday. And it could be a good match. Of course, it should be just a little bit PC for the wording and so on, but it could be rap or just guitar music. But we had much less interest shown that we've thought beforehand. Nevertheless, I would have been sorry if we couldn't realize those programs. So we should just analyze why there was no big success, and well, just it was not attractive. It was not that. That's what people told us. It was not that attractive. But well, nevertheless, it was a very interesting initiative. So it's perhaps on the long run, you can use better your place, and you can initiate other programs, for example, on the board of the trains. So we've been talking about logistics, and whenever it comes to the development of the destinations, your company also was prepared to give a green aspect, a sustainable aspect to its operation, whether it comes to governance or operation. There is a kind of a public, let's say like that, which would like to have greener public transportation. There are some festivals when people wanted to come by train. So, for example, whenever a group like that who wanted to come to Veszprém by train and not at all by plane, pay their tribute to sustainability, whenever we got to know it, we asked them to play, and they played. And people loved it. And people asked me afterwards, well, will it be like that every day or every weekend? Well, okay, I really dare to sustain all these initiatives, but we do need partners in order to achieve that. So whenever you've got a good idea, we are open, but we do need a little bit more. We started to do something with the Strand Festival, but at the end we could not identify the band that would have been adapted. But I do think that we can do good things. So if you are there, you just listen to something. It's just good. It's a match. We've got the line 11, and there were Swiss people on it. But in Switzerland, that's okay. Switzerland and train, it goes together very well. It's culturally, for them, it's absolutely a normal thing. And we've got the line 11. Even during our season, we've got a very specific restaurant car. It's a buffet, but it's an old wagon, and you can have a ride. It's not that quick, and you can have a basic sandwich in retro style. So perhaps we can do something with this wagon, with this retro car we've got. Yes, I think it's a great idea. And yesterday we got some ideas also from other organizers for buses and trains. And there are people who would like to paint on trains. And you too, I think, you try to decorate your buses. Yes, we had this kind of idea, but we did not do it finally. But I do think that it was a great project, even if we haven't realized it, not yet at least. So with the cooperation of the Culture Center, we decided to offer one of our buses for legal graffiti making. So the graffiti community could have designed something for these buses. The only to pick very freely understood would have been Veszprém and buses. And only what we asked for is to use some vignettes which can be waterproof, so which can be used also whenever there is a pouring train. But well, we could not have positive answers because probably, well, it was a little bit shocking, or we couldn't find the right artistic community to work with. So perhaps we have to prepare a little bit more this thing. But I do think that it's a great idea, and we can have it in our pocket, because it can and it could really reinforce the good place feeling of a town. So people can smile whenever they meet a bus like that, for example. It could be a part of the town. I would like to add something. Well, it's quite interesting. I wouldn't like to give more tasks to our technical staff, but, well, buses, it's a waste transportation. And if you've got some artists, you know, not just graffiti makers, but artists of any kind, painters, for example. So young artists would like to have a surface So do not hesitate to contact us. For example, from time to time, we use our locomotives and some wagons for decorative purposes. So why not? So I would be really happy to show, to give this possibility to young artists and to show what they are capable of to the people and to create something valuable. If you've got public or cultural organizers in the public, just contact me if you've got any ideas. I would be very happy to work with them. I do think that at the ministry we are quite open for that. I'm pretty sure that we are open. And then who pays for it? What about the contractual part? Of course, there is a little bit risky but we can all the time start. I am sure that there are lots of people wanting to contact you with their ideas. Last year we organized a Balaton conference. Whenever, for example, we had the experts of the ecology researchers. So it's been a great initiative. We could experience something new. Whenever they arrived to the Lake Balaton, it was a specific excursion they could offer, and they give a plus to the conference. So I do think that all projects and initiatives having a great impact on our senses, I do think that we can all the time ask the question, how can we coordinate it or organize it on the long run? So we would like to have a common calendar in order to show, even in the future, all the programs of the.
We want to lay emphasis on the community transport, information development, and to make it visible, and also to show our program calendar, which immediately offers the best community transport options. It also came to my mind that cycle tourism. Many times we think about cyclers as tourists, but this is also a vehicle that helps the well-being of the local residents as well. There are a lot of employees who commute to work by bike. So the bike infrastructural development around Veszprém was important. So we are very proud of the V-bikes as well. Yes. I think that what you asked about cooperations, that was a good example. Anytime we get to the point that the transport profession has been working about it for a long time, to get to the opportunities of organizing transport on the regional level. This was a very good example, as you mentioned, that this is possible. Even in this framework, it is possible. And we went beyond county borders, service provider borders, and all kinds of geographical borders. So I think from the system side, it's a good example that in the 60,000 inhabitant city, we can give momentum to this cooperation to serve the residents more and provide an alternative to visitors as well, either Hungarian or international tourists. And of course, it's important to have the best station and stop system. And we see that what we started in 2023 and extended in 2024, it's starting to mature, the system changes, and we have a lot of users for the V-bikes, for example, and it's a real alternative for community transport, individual transport, and to replace the individual vehicle transport. Obviously, walking is also very good. So there's a new element with the V-bikes in the service. As the closing word, I would say that we have plans and ideas in abundance. And I think in our last meeting in February, we said goodbye by saying, let's keep in touch. It's important to have innovation, creativity in us. And that's how we can find the best service that is for you, for us, for all of us, what we need, because I think sustainability is one of the most important pillars of sustainability is mobility and transport, but for that we need a lot of change and learning, not only innovation. Thank you. For us, ECOC was a huge experience, how the local community transport can cooperate with such a big region with many, many settlements. And I think that if this region will be able to stay together, because we are expecting this, of course, to cooperate in the future, if they want to fight to achieve common goals, I think there's an opportunity in the transport for that as well. And in a region where there are so many settlements, this is unprecedented, this kind of cooperation with so many settlements. Why couldn't we resolve this? I think just like a lot of development started into the direction to integrate local transport and cooperation between transport companies. Obviously, this cooperation must go through county borders, but this makes a lot of sense. It has a lot of meaning. There are opportunities. And if we manage to plan and implement this, I see realistic opportunities for that. Thank you. Thank you very much for all my panelists and the past 2 years cooperation, these wonderful closing words and opportunities that are ahead of us in the future too. And I'm sure that we will seize the opportunities to continue and we can provide even more colorful services for the visitors or the residents. And we want to also feel the joint responsibility, and we want to remind event organizers that it's worth investing time to remind the visitors to leave their cars at home and use community transport, helping to decrease the footprint and also helping to preserve the quality of life of the local residents. And we are looking forward to the continued effort and the wide palette of cooperations in this area. And we, of course, want to put in the we want to put in these services into the creative region. Thank you for being with us.